Hey friends, I just wanted to share about an article by Lindsay Macareth. I'll put the link in the description. It was just really fun to me because it's titled, let's see, 36 autistic workplace accommodations that actually work. And when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I give myself almost all of these. So I thought it would be fun to share. And if you do not identify as autistic, no worries. They happen to be things that might be useful to people with an autistic profile. But if they feel like they would be good for you, then it's great to snag them and learn from them and make them your own. Also, if you're a person who's like, I feel like when I hear things about the autistic experience, I'm like, that is so me. Macareth has like worlds of information about the autistic experience and some like workbooks that you can do, some like tests and quizzes. And she also diagnoses people. That's an experience that people may or may not want to have. But she's a great resource, so check her out if you're interested in any of that. Okay, I'm going to share this and we will go through it and I'll tell you the ones that I use. Okay, dokie. Okay, so so this one includes like what to ask for on it and ADA specific information. That's the Americans with Disabilities Act. So if you're outside of the US, then this won't apply to you. If you are in the US and you have not been officially diagnosed autistic or you work in an environment where they might not recognize that, then that won't be applicable to you. So you can check that out. I'm not going to really touch on that because I don't have a formal diagnosis. I'm just self-diagnosed. So you can check into that ADA stuff. If you're interested in that. And in the what to ask for, that might be something that you either just make happen for yourself, or if you're able to ask for it just in a general sense, saying like, hey, this thing would help me do my job better, then that's one way to at least give your work environment the chance to say no. All right. So, clear, structured communication. I love this phrase, ambiguity is the enemy, right? So much of the time, the world can be like, I have said to my therapist many, many times, the word that sums up my human experience is confused. I'm like, what are you expecting? What did you mean to say? What is happening? Confusion has been um, very present in my life. And so clear, structured communication can be really awesome. Some versions of what that could look like. A task brief. So that could be like, what are the goals? What are the deadlines? How do you know that you've done it successfully? Think of like a rubric that school teachers give to kids. You can pull up like a rubric for a writing assignment online and you'll get 100 examples and you could take that to a supervisor or to a project manager and say like, would you be able to write up your expectations in this way so that I can make sure that I'm doing it the way that you are expecting me to do it? Um, an email follow-up after meeting summarizing key takeaways and action items. I often do that for clients. I feel like sometimes we have an experience and maybe we were disassociated. Maybe it was too much. Maybe we just weren't connecting auditorily that day for any number of reasons. It could be nice to have a like, what was I supposed to get out of that meeting, right? For me, I will say that in-person meetings or on the phone meetings are less successful than email communication. I do great with written information that I can digest in my own pace, in my own time without having to interact with someone else's energy. And it gives me time to think about questions and to ask for clarifications and to make sure that my response is not based on my emotional or nervous system state. And so it could be also, I don't remember if that's in here, but like limiting verbal or in-person communication could be another thing that you offer yourself or ask for. Shared project timeline or Gantt chart. I don't know what a Gantt chart is, but I think that word looks fantastic with the two T's at the end. So yeah, just breaking down like what components are meant to be done in what order and when. Here, I'm so cute. Look, the fourth one is a preference for email or written chat over verbal updates or instructions. This is what I loved about this. I'm like, I have figured this out through trial and error, and it makes me so happy. Permission to ask for clarification without judgment when something is ambiguous. So that could look like, hey, I sometimes get a little bit like lost in the sauce when there's something that is auditory or is just delivered in a certain way, and I may need to ask you for more clarification than you're used to. Can we work together to make that something that feels comfortable for us both? A template or example of completed work. I love a template. Yes, a template is just like a best friend when it comes to these kind of things. So don't feel like we're just like starting from nothing. Sensory friendly work environments. This is the one that I was like, I have created this in my home. I work from my home, which was the like amazing goal of mine for so long. My sensory stuff was just it was horrible in the public school buildings that are like anti-sensory friendly. Um, so these are some great ones that I was so happy to see. I've done all of these. A desk in a quiet area. So I like this idea that if you're a person who is in a building that you could ask to be like tucked to the side, um, away from high traffic zones, permission to opt out of fluorescent lighting. I was thrilled. We went to my kids' pediatrician's office, and the office space had covers over their fluorescent lighting. You can buy those on Amazon. They're like just a piece of fabric, but you could even put just plain white poster board over a fluorescent light and it'll take out the intensity of that. When I worked in the public schools and was so grateful eventually to get my own private office, I was able to turn off the fluorescent lights and bring in a lamp that I could use instead. So that could be an option. In my space, I only use, as you can see right here, twinkle lights. And I always wear a hat in case there ever is an overhead light in my day to day. And oh, I just love it. Uh, ability to wear sunglasses, hats, or blue light glasses. So these are my blue glasses. I always wear a hat. And then I wear sunglasses pretty much everywhere, including I wear night driving glasses if I'm in like a grocery store or when driving at night. Uh, Fragrance-free policies, so huge. I am so grateful. I used to live in a household where there was a lot of fragrances, and if I go into a fragrancy space now, it feels like it's slapping me in the face. So that can be one that a lot of places are doing these days. So certainly valid to ask and see what you could do. And then again, if it's not an option, asking to be in a space that's kind of like away and even don't think I have one in this room, but there are little like plug-in air purifiers that you could consider using near your desk. Adjustments to uniform or dress code. Yeah, so impactful. I feel like this is the one that people shy away from as an autistic person or as a neurodivergent or sensory sensitive person is how much your clothes are impacting you. Okay. Or if it's not, that's fine. But for many of us, clothes are impacting us so much. It's a non-stop, just like drain on your nervous system. Okay. And it doesn't have to be, right? We have a lot of ideas about what people expect us to wear. A year or two ago, when I just decided, like, I am no longer wearing anything that doesn't feel just awesome on my system, um, it just like really radically improved my life. Having a hat on at all times, even though I'm like, can you wear a baseball hat every single day as a professional or as an adult? And I realized, like, yeah, actually, no one a single time has ever once asked me why I have a hat on, even when I go to like a formal event. Um, Nobody has ever had a word to say about me wearing a hat. I now wear only incredibly loose, very soft clothing. Again, no one has ever said anything. It's often pajamas. And no one has ever said anything to me. Again, I am uniquely privileged because I work from home, but I realized that one of my dear friends at the school district, her daughter is neurodivergent and has a CVI, which is a cortical visual impairment. Um, and she has to wear a hat and dark glasses and comfy clothes for that reason. And she just does it. It's written into her accommodations or whatever. But the mom works at the school and also just wears a hat and sweatpants and a t-shirt every single day and tennis shoes. And everybody else in the building is like wearing work clothes, right? But I don't know if anyone's ever said something to her. Apparently not, because she's been working there for, I don't know, 10 years at least. And everywhere we go in the world, wherever we see her, she's wearing sweats and a t-shirt and tennis shoes. And I'm like, turns out, turns out, people, there is so much more allowed. My therapist just asked me last week, like, you keep saying allowed, like, who is allowing or not allowing you to do these things? And I was like, I don't know, but for some reason I'm not allowed, right? We have this like not allowedness. So that's a great place to put some adjustment if you're a sensory person at all. I would say also this one is really important if you're a person whose weight has changed, noticing that if you don't like tightness and you've gained some weight or your shape has gotten bigger in some way and you're like forcing yourself to wear the clothes that are squeezing in on you now, that it is worth going to the Goodwill and getting a $3 pair of something bigger so that you can not have that digging in. And then vice versa, if you're a person that likes compression and your body size has shifted to smaller and you're not getting that compression anymore, it is worth it to go to the Goodwill and spend $3 to get that compression, right? So we have changing bodies, and a lot of us have rules about like not getting clothes that adjust with our changing body size. And that can be a drain on your nervous system. Use of white noise apps. I love this one, sound machines. I'm a big fan person, so I have fans on always, and it's really nice to my nervous system. So that's an easy way to do this like profile, right? Like I'm just really hot. Can I have a fan? And then you can get your white noise. Okay, okay. Flexible schedules or remote work options. So clearly, remote work has been so huge for me. Custom start time, 10 to 6 instead of 9 to 5. I don't know if this is universal, but it might just relate to, she says to accommodate energy patterns or avoid rush hour sensory overload. It could relate to, your sleep cycle. It could relate to that rushiness. Like, I have to do a time thing for my kid to get on the bus. And so a time thing that's rushed right after that to start work was always really hard for me, like trying to get us both ready at the same time. So I have my day staggered so that I can focus on getting my kid ready and then I can have a moment to get me ready before I start. And then a reduced hour day. She says during high stress periods, I'm gonna say you could consider a reduced hour day or week just across the board. I work a reduced schedule. I don't work full-time hours. And that's because I don't do well. My mental health and my physical health don't do well when I work 40 hours a week. It's a lot of hours for a human. So it could be worth considering, like, does my spending like necessitate me working more than I have the capacity to? And if that's the case, might I like to live at like a lower financial necessity and work less? And that's what I came up with. Like, I would rather have less financial flexibility, maybe. So I like have, you know, less fancy stuff and spend less in order to work less, because that really is more worth it to me. Ability to work from home, Yay. Um, so for those of you who, are working in environments and it's like work from home is not an option, I like her idea here that like you could ask for it just for specific situations. So it could be like, after a sensory intensive meeting that you have to attend, you could be like, could I do that second half of the day at home? Because my system's just been overwhelmed, for example. And that would be something you could like look at a calendar ahead on like what's been scheduled and then ask for those things. I think that's a really cool idea. I do that for myself. Like if I know that my kid has a late soccer game and that I'm going to be driving at night, I'll start my day after later because I know my system will have been like used a lot of resources for the night driving, for example. Okay, protected time for breaks. So this one's a great idea, like to take, 15 minutes every couple of hours to step away from the screen or to stim in private. I love, having a bathroom break to do some nervous system exercises. I have never had a work environment tell me I'm taking too many bathroom breaks. I don't know that they're allowed to. So that can be a nice way to go into the bathroom, get some cold water running on your hands, splash some cold water on your face, do some nervous system exercises, some breathing, some humming, some rocking. Um, I also loved when I was working at school, like being able to take a lap around the school outside for a little sensory break. So things like that might be an option. Transition buffer, I love that. Like instead of having meetings back to back, you can ask for a little space in between. I give myself 10 minutes. I probably would like at some point to have 15. I know some folks who give themselves 20. So those are all nice options. Asynchronous work options. This is my like dreamiest dream is that I would be living in a world where all of my work is asynchronous. Because there's times when you feel like working and times when you're like, I don't have it. So that's a really cool idea for those who can come up with it. Okay, support for executive functioning. Um, Let's see. Weekly planning meeting with your manager to map out tasks and deadlines. This could be something also that if your manager wasn't up for it, you could get like a friend or a coworker or even pay a coach, an executive functioning coach to do this with you. I have done this with like someone who's an administrative, like has administrative skills, and I swapped like sessions, I think, with them. And they were able to like help me sit down and look at, say, like a new scheduling software and help me to understand it. But there are people, if you go onto Fiverr and you put in like ADHD coach or executive functioning coach, there are people who would do this, who would sit down with you for, an hour every week and help you map out what that week has in store for you and how to organize it and what the deadlines are and stuff like that. There are millions of people on there doing that work. And I think it's so great to, oh, this is hilarious. I keep saying the things that she says next. So you could do that with a colleague or a coach. Permission to use apps or tools like Notion, Clockify, or Pomodoro timers. I don't know what any of that is, but it sounds interesting. Look into it if you think that sounds cool. A task breakdown sheet where you and your manager deconstruct large projects into individual subtasks. So this is like kind of the same as asking for a rubric, but it would be something that you do together with the manager. Um, this is something that you could also do with ChatGPT. Uh, and you might just want to check in with your manager. Like, I've used a resource to help me break down this task. Does this look like what you're looking for? And can you give me feedback so they're not having to do all the work of the creation of it? Visual schedules or workflow charts that lay out what needs to happen in what order. I love a visual schedule. I have had one in my shower. I often got like really discombobulated and confused when I had hair that needed shampoo washing. I would like shampoo my hair 3 times because I'd be like, did I shampoo it? I don't know if I student. So now I have like an order that helps me know like, okay, I did that, I did that, I did that. Um, and I would love a visual schedule for packing my kids' lunch. I feel like that always takes me a long discombobulated time. But visual schedules are very cool. There's like order of operations, basically. Accountability check-ins via Slack or email to help keep tasks moving forward without judgment. Um, so that could be something that you ask a work person to do, but you could also ask like a executive functioning coach to do that. Or even a buddy, an accountability buddy for work, a coworker that you're like, hey, I'll do this for you, you do this for me, kind of thing. Okay, okay. Modified social expectations, a clear opt-out option for team lunches, parties, or optional events without guilt or pressure. You can also give that to yourself, right? I know in some work environments, it's kind of an expectation. I remember in the public schools, there were like birthday lunches and stuff and like birthday gifts for people. And one of my closest friends was the queen of the social world at the school. And I was the opposite. I was like, can I just sign the card and then stay in my office during the party? Um, and eventually I was able to communicate to folks like, I love you, but I do not love being with this many people in one room with an expectation that we're going to eat in front of each other and talk. All that combined is I'm not a fan. And now my friends know I don't love these kind of things. So they don't invite me to them, and we find different ways to hang out. The ability to turn off your camera in virtual meetings when needed to reduce fatigue. I would offer that a great strategy for if you're not allowed to do that is to put hide self view on your Zoom meeting. I don't know how to do that on a Google meeting, but you could see if it's an option, um, like on Google Meet. But hide self view is an option on Zoom, and that means that they are seeing you, but you are not seeing you. I know uh, just like your nervous system super relaxes when you're not looking at yourself for some people. Some people, it can make them more stressed out because they don't feel like they are able to check what they're looking like. But that would be something that I think would be interesting to do some parts work around. Because having to monitor yourself on a screen is just really exhausting to me. Um, Permission to leave large meetings early if they become overwhelming. So just like hey, I might slip out if I need a break. And I'll take the responsibility to follow up with a colleague about what I missed, etc. Receive questions ahead of time. I love this. Um, Especially like I use this even with like if I'm meeting with a new therapist or a new doctor or something like that, I ask like, what are you going to be asking of me? What kind of information are you going to want from me? Can I go through that in advance? Um, Written communication as a default. Da, 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 da. But yeah, especially for complex or emotional topics. I like something that I have been interested in that I would love to explore is something called email coaching. I love writing emails with like resources and responses to people's questions, and even giving email prompts and then letting people like process in that way. And I once participated in a study where the researcher asked me like prompts and questions, and then I was to email about them, and our whole like experience together was over email. I felt I was able to be so honest because I didn't have to do the like people part. So yeah, I want to explore that. Avoidance of forced team building games. Ugh, right? And surprise introductions. Surprise introductions is like the hardest for me when you get onto a class and they're like, tell me three things about where you live and what you love to do and what's your word that you're feeling today. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to remember all of that. And I just want to throw up. So I love this. Just not even like given it in advance, just can I not do it? I love that. Mentorship and advocacy support. A designated onboarding buddy or peer mentor. I love that idea. A point person in HR, access to a professional coach or external support person, paid or unpaid for periodic guidance. So that's what I was saying. There's some great people on Fiverr to check out if that's something that you're interested in giving yourself, even if your job doesn't. Monthly check-in with a manager. I love that. Permission to bring a support person to accommodation meetings. That one can be really helpful, especially if it's a person with more executive functioning skills, so that they could take notes and they could ask clarifying questions if you're a person who goes into like a freeze or just becomes overwhelmed. And a clear guide to workplace norms, what's flexible, what's not, and where to go to help to for help. I think that is an incredible layout of like, okay, which ones of these are ones that I could shift on? Which ones are like, these are absolutes? And if I have a question about either of those things, who would I ask? Company-wide neurodiversity training. How cool would this be? Mandatory neurodiversity training led by real autistic people, right? Not just clinical overviews. Encouragement for coworkers to learn about sensory needs, communication styles, and masking. Workplace language guidelines. Um, Avoiding the you don't look autistic. Internal resources like a neurodiversity employee resource group. How cool would that be? Or affinity space, a commitment to review policies and cultural norms with a neurodiversity lens. That would all be so awesome. I feel like that's also something that I give myself through ongoing education and researching, so that I can continue to remind myself like these things are valid and real and worth thinking about and giving to myself. Okay. Beautiful. I will send you the link for that. Check out Lindsay if you're interested in understanding more about yourself through the lens of neurodivergence. Her kind of specialty is gifted and autistic ADHD profile and how those come together, high masking, so to speak, and how like stressful times of life can trigger like a burnout where it's like, oh my gosh, I actually think I'm super autistic and I had no idea. So if you're that kind of a, or if you've had that kind of experience, she could be really cool for you to check out. Okay, love you. Oh, if there's anything else to that you would add to the list, put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Okay, bye for now.